A stuffy HOA boardroom. A woman with a severe blonde bob and a sharp pantsuit slaps a piece of paper down on a conference table like she's laying down a royal flush. This is ridiculous. We have a no pets policy for a reason. You have 72 hours to remove the rodents or we will begin eviction proceedings. That's the sound of HOA board president Cynthia Frost confidently committing a federal crime. She just looked a certified letter from a licensed therapist square in the face and called it ridiculous. She thought she was flexing her power over a quiet, anxious young woman and her 2 guinea pigs. What she was actually doing was violating the Fair Housing Act, opening herself and the entire HOA up to a lawsuit that could cost them tens of thousands of dollars in damages and fines. What Cynthia didn't know was that the homeowner, Chloe, had spent the last 6 months meticulously documenting every single interaction. That eviction threat was the final piece of evidence she needed to not only shut Cynthia down, but to have her removed from the board and investigated by the federal government. Cynthia was about to learn that when you mess with someone's mental health treatment, you're not just breaking HOA rules, you're breaking federal law. What would you do if someone tried to take away your prescribed medical support? Let me know in the comments below. Now, let's meet our hero. Chloe Evans, 28, was a freelance copy editor. Her world was one of quiet focus, grammar rules, and the gentle, comforting sounds of her home office. For Chloe, anxiety wasn't just a bad day. It was a constant, humming current under everything. A car backfiring could send her heart racing for an hour. A looming deadline could trigger days of paralyzing dread. After years of struggling, her therapist had suggested an unusual but proven form of support: emotional support animals. Not dogs or cats, but guinea pigs. Their quiet, gentle nature, their soft cooing sounds, and the simple, meditative act of caring for them could provide a grounding presence that medication alone sometimes couldn't. So came Coco and Bean, 2 ridiculously fluffy Abyssinian guinea pigs with personalities bigger than their 1-bedroom condo. Their soft, contented weeking when Chloe brought them fresh lettuce was a sound that could instantly lower her blood pressure. Their gentle, rumbling purrs as she held them during a panic attack were more effective than any deep breathing app. They weren't pets, they were her 4-legged hay-munching medical team. Their antagonist was Cynthia Frost. Cynthia was the epitome of cold corporate efficiency. A real estate attorney by trade, she treated the Pinecrest Manor Condominium Association not as a community, but as a corporation she was the CEO of. Her motive was control, underpinned by a deep, unacknowledged prejudice against what she deemed weakness or eccentricity. Mental health, in her world, was a private matter, not something to be flaunted with official letters and rodents. She saw any deviation from her sterile, rule-based ideal as a threat to the professional atmosphere she believed maximized property values. The first shot across the bow was a note slipped under Chloe's door. It was typed, unsigned, and chillingly impersonal. Unit 4B. It has been noted that unauthorized animals are being housed in this unit. This is a direct violation of Pinecrest Manor's strict no pets policy. You are required to remedy this situation immediately. Chloe's anxiety spiked, but she was prepared. She had done her research. Her first move was the reasonable, by the book approach. She went straight to the HOA management office and presented the assistant with her official documentation, a letter from her licensed therapist on official letterhead stating that Coco and Bean were prescribed ESAs for her diagnosed anxiety disorder. It cited the Fair Housing Act, FHA, which requires housing providers, including HOAs, to make reasonable accommodations for individuals with disabilities. The assistant was sympathetic and filed the letter away. Chloe breathed a sigh of relief. The law was clear. This was over. It was not over. 3 days later, an official HOA violation letter arrived via certified mail. It was signed by Cynthia Frost. Dear Miss Evans, we have received your documentation. While we acknowledge your submission, the board has determined that guinea pigs, Cavia porcellus, do not qualify as traditional emotional support animals under the spirit of the policy. Furthermore, their presence poses a potential sanitation and allergy risk to other residents. Your request for an accommodation is hereby denied. You have 14 days to remove the animals from the premises. Failure to comply will result in a fine of $200 and further legal action, up to and including eviction. Chloe felt the world tilt. The spirit of the policy. The FHA didn't care about the spirit of an HOA's policy and sanitation risk. They lived in a custom-built, massive cage that was cleaned daily. This wasn't a denial. This was a declaration of war, based on nothing but Cynthia's personal prejudice. The harassment escalated. Cynthia began a covert campaign. She conveniently scheduled mandatory fire alarm inspections for Chloe's unit, hoping to catch the guinea pigs out of their cage. She posted notices in the building's lobby about vermin control and reporting pest sightings, making pointed eye contact with Chloe in the elevator. The fines began to accrue. $200 turned into $400, then $600. Chloe's secret weapon wasn't a law degree. It was her meticulous, detail-oriented nature, the same one that made her a brilliant copy editor. She stopped having panic attacks and started building a case. She created a dedicated folder, evidence file, photos of the immaculate cage, the vet records, the guinea pigs, healthy, happy faces, communication log, a detailed timeline of every interaction, printed and saved, legal research, printouts from HUD.gov, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, explicitly stating that ESAs are not limited to dogs and cats, and that an HOA cannot deny a reasonable accommodation based on the type of animal without proven specific cause. Her key ally was her therapist, Dr. Evans. "This is a clear FHA violation, Chloe," Dr. Evans said during their session, her voice firm. "They cannot do this. If they push this, we will file a complaint with HUD. That comes with massive federal fines for them. You are not in the wrong here. She is." Buoyed by this, Chloe requested a formal hearing with the HOA board to appeal the violation. She was calm, she was prepared, and she was about to walk into the lion's den. The climax was the board meeting. Cynthia Frost sat at the head of the table, a smirk playing on her lips. She had clearly done her own research on shady websites that promised ways to spot fake ESA letters. "Ms. Evans," Cynthia began, not even letting Chloe sit down. "This board has been more than patient. Your continued insistence on keeping livestock in a residential building is unacceptable. Your letter," she held it up between two fingers like it was contaminated, "is from an online mill. These so-called therapists will write these for anyone." Chloe took a deep breath. "Dr. Evans is my licensed in-person therapist of 3 years. You can verify her license with the state. And under the FHA, you are not permitted to demand details about my diagnosis, only to accept the verification from a medical professional." Cynthia's smirk widened. She thought she had her. "The FHA also says the accommodation cannot pose an undue burden or direct threat." "I'm sorry, but rodents are a direct threat to the building's sanitation. It's a matter of public health. My decision is final. You have 72 hours to comply, or we will begin the eviction process." She slid a formal, typed eviction warning across the table. It was her checkmate move. Chloe looked at the paper. Then she looked at Cynthia. The anxiety was gone, replaced by a cold, clear certainty. She reached into her bag and pulled out a single sheet of paper. It wasn't her therapist's letter. It was a different letter altogether. "Cynthia," Chloe said, her voice steady and loud enough for the entire board to hear, "this is a notice of violation of the Fair Housing Act. I am giving you 72 hours to retract this illegal eviction threat, dismiss all fines, and formally approve my accommodation request in writing. Failure to do so will result in me filing a formal complaint with the US Department of Housing and Urban Development. This complaint will name you personally and the HOA as respondents. The room went dead silent. Cynthia's smirk vanished. Chloe continued. You see, the FHA doesn't care about your personal opinion on guinea pigs. HUD has repeatedly ruled that animals like rabbits, guinea pigs, and even miniature pigs can be ESAs. Your claim of a direct threat is baseless and fabricated, as I have photos and vet records proving their care. By denying my certified letter and threatening eviction, you have willfully violated federal law. The fines from HUD can be over $100,000, and since you acted against clear legal advice, which I have documented, the HOA's insurance may not cover the damages. You will be personally liable. Cynthia's face cycled through arrogance, confusion, and finally dawning, sheer terror. She had been outmaneuvered, completely. She wasn't looking at an anxious girl. She was looking at a lawsuit that would bankrupt the HOA and end her career. I would need to consult our attorney, she stammered. You do that, Chloe said, gathering her things. You have 72 hours. The clock starts now. She turned and walked out, leaving a stunned boardroom in her wake. The takedown was swift, an absolute. The legal takedown. The HOA's attorney, when consulted, was apoplectic. He confirmed everything Chloe had said. He tore Cynthia to shreds, over the phone, for creating massive legal and financial risk based on her personal bias. He immediately drafted a formal letter of apology to Chloe, approved the ESA accommodation retroactively, and wiped all fines from her account. The professional takedown. The other board members, realizing Cynthia had nearly cost them their homes, in lawsuit damages, held an emergency vote. Cynthia Frost was removed as board president effective immediately. A motion for her complete removal from the board passed unanimously. The social takedown. The story, of course, leaked. The quiet young woman in 4B, who stood up to the HOA dragon, became a legend in the building. Neighbors who had also been victimized by Cynthia's petty rules began sharing their stories in the laundry room. Cynthia became a pariah. She was seen less and less, and within months, her condo was on the market. The epilogue was a victory for quiet resilience. The new HOA board, terrified of another federal violation, instituted mandatory Fair Housing Act training for all members. They created a clear legal process for ESA requests that followed federal law to the letter. Chloe didn't create a charity. She found her voice. The experience proved to her that her anxiety didn't make her weak. It made her prepared, detail-oriented, and fierce when protecting what mattered. Coco and Bean, the unwitting catalysts of it all, got a brand new, upgraded cage with extra tunnels, paid for by the HOA's goodwill gesture of a $500 gift card to a pet store. The gentle, happy weeks of contentment from her two fluffy heroes became a sound of triumph, a daily reminder that sometimes the smallest creatures can bring down the biggest bullies. This is what happens when you think federal law is just a suggestion. It's not. It's the hammer that shatters a tyrant's glass jaw. If you're cheering for Chloe, Coco, and Bean, give this video a like and let me know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. Coming up next time. An HOA banned street basketball after 5 p.m. They didn't expect the kid's grandfather, a retired NBA coach, to have a legendary response. Thanks for watching HOA Karma Tales. Stay strong and know your rights.